thank you all for this, Michael and Vicky, for this opportunity to be here. Obviously, I'm not Linda Birch, who was on your agenda. Linda was unwell. She's actually in the city, but unwell and couldn't make it. So I'm thrilled to be here in her stead and see so many colleagues from past and present lives. Thrilled to be here. So Common Sense Media, thank you for that great introduction, Amy. There are a couple of points of intersection with what we do and the study, and I'd like to just raise them. First off, of course, we rate and review children's media. We have for about 10 years now for age appropriateness, and we rated over 20,000 titles from books all the way to video games. And more recently, thanks to the generous support of the SCE Fund, we've been rating and reviewing interactive digital media, so mobile apps, video games, websites for learning potential as well. Have about 2,000 titles rated and reviewed. And we also very recently launched a new platform for educators to discover, use, and share digital media for learning called Graphite that draws on the same rubric that we use, that we developed in consultation with several of you in the room to assess the learning potential of media. And a few things to say about that. For one, we talk about the potential of media for learning rather than outcomes. And we're not alone in this. Warren, of course, does something very similar, as do others. But we focus on engagement as being the first dimension in learning. And then we look at a lot of different pedagogical features of a particular media product. And finally, we look at the supports that a product offers. How can the learning go off screen? What can others in the child's learning ecology, whether it's siblings, other peers, parents, other family members, caregivers, teachers, etc. What supports are there for the learning ecology of the child? So these are several things that we look at. And in addition to our editorial reviews, which are produced by many of whom are educators themselves or experts in the field of digital media and learning, we also have parent reviews and kid reviews. Actually, kids provide about over 60% of our user reviews come from kids. So we try to triangulate that information. And of course, now we have teacher reviews on Graphite, and I'll speak in a little bit about how we're looking to bridge those different platforms. The other point of intersection, as many of you may know, is that we have a program for the study of children's media. We actually have a research program, thanks to the wonderful Vicky Rideout, who we've conducted 4 nationally representative surveys of media use and attitudes. We recently released in October the second round of our 0 to 8 study, which looked at media use in kids in this country from ages 0 to 8. And one of the things we found was that while there was still a digital divide of sorts, a gap, it's closing to some extent, and the ubiquity and the expansion of digital and mobile use among young kids. So in terms of points of intersection with the study, but of course TV time still dominates. So almost every page of the report had interesting findings that I would love to comment on, literally almost every page. And I'm trying to focus in and rein myself in to focus on a few that I think had real takeaways for us at Common Sense Media and those of us who provide information directly to parents. First off, I'm not the first to say this, many of you in the room have already said this, Vicky herself brought this up, we absolutely need to triangulate parents' perceptions of what is educational. And obviously we need observations, tracking, etc., observations of what kids are actually exposed to, evaluations of what they're actually exposed to, and it's really not clear, I think, what parents are considering educational. Of course, we saw 58% think that Sesame Street is educational, but only 4% thought Minecraft is. Now, we gave Minecraft our highest rating for learning potential at Common Sense Media, and the teachers on Graphite do as well. So, and David spoke eloquently about, what we could potentially consider to have learning value. So I think there's a lot that we need to do to translate the learning sciences or research on learning and development of children to parents in a more approachable way, in a more relatable way. In our reviews, we not only provide a rating, but we provide a lot of information in the review about what parents can do to help and kind of translate and unpack what 21st century skills are and so forth. But I think there's a lot more that we can do to reach parents. Also parents just being more familiar with television as a medium and the sheer volume of content that's available on the newer platforms and mobile is a factor that I think we should consider. Second, wearing my statistician hat, I want to say that the interaction effects, and I'll explain myself, the interaction effects here in this study nullify, June, I think you know what I'm talking about, and Jennifer, nullify the main effects, which is that the demographic differences that you're seeing are really what we should be talking about. Rather than saying all parents, once you start getting into the demographic differences, then you cannot really be talking about parents as a whole. And for us at Common Sense Media, what that means is we should be redoubling our efforts to reach a wider and a larger population of parents, seeing especially as they seem to want this information, whether it's Latina families, and also look to media as a source for learning for their kids. It's really time for us to do that. A lot of our content, especially our parent advice content, is sent in through schools in Spanish, and we're looking to expand that, and that's not enough. I'm just looking at the fact that we need to redouble our efforts in that. And finally, I actually found it encouraging that parents, this is a tiny little paragraph in the report, but I actually found it encouraging that parents look to teachers as a source of information for what counts as educational. As I just told you about Graphite, where teachers are weighing in on what they consider to be educational, and it might be surprising to some of you. I encourage you to visit and check it out. We are looking for ways to bridge that homeschool connection, like many of you are, but to actually bring those platforms together so that kids are talking to parents and teachers are talking to parents, and parents are talking to teachers, and so forth. And with that, I will leave it, and thank you again.